I've been in the tech space for 25. I've been here for a long time. From everything from virtualization to cloud to security and all things in between. So I'm very happy and excited to be here with all of my friends.
Thanks. Rob, you go.
Hello, I'm Rob Koch. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I work as a consulting. I work for a consulting firm. Like Chris, I've
Okay.
been in the world for too many years to count. The tech world. I've got a lot of stories to tell. Yeah, and it's great coming here and just chatting with the friends that are here. And so, as you can tell, we've got a sign language interpreter, Jordan, who will is using American Sign Language, and she helps facilitate the communication. So, welcome, Jordan, and thank you for being here.
Okay. Brian.
Hi, Brian Tarbox. I work for Kayland, and I'm probably the only person you ever met who's also a member of the International Marine Animal Trainers Association. Um, I think it's cute that Rob and Chris say that they've been in the field for a while at 20 or 25 years. I've been in the field for 46 years. I actually started with punch cards and Fortran. I'm a principal solutions architect with Kayland, Amazon Hero, Ambassador, New Voices, Mentor, blah, blah, blah. And I am 1 week into a new house. So yay.
Okay. Andrew.
Hey everyone, it's Andrew Brown. I'm up here in Canada, and for those who don't know me, I create cloud certification courses for people to help pass their exams. Um, my courses are free, and I've created courses on AWS, Azure, GCP, et cetera, et cetera. My background was I was a CTO for many years with many startups. And then prior to that, I was a developer. That's my primary practice in the technology space is development. And then my family owns a computer store. And so, yeah, just been doing tech forever and it's really fun. And I just recently started using the 3D printer that was donated to my church. I have a church that I'm turning into a technology center. But yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Thank you. So now we're in 2026, and I know last year we had a chat like this. So if you were starting your career, Chris, again in 2026, what would you do differently
Hold
this
on, hold
year?
on, hold on. We forgot Daria.
Oh,
Yeah.
we forgot Daria. Can you imagine that? No, Daria, my apologies. Oh,
No
yes,
worries.
Daria, you have the whole hour to introduce yourself. Yeah,
Okay, the
Daria.
rest comes you.
Yes.
No worries. Yeah, my name is Daria, and I work as a senior data scientist. Uh, not quite so long, for so long in touch. I think it's already 6 or 7 years. I'm a career switcher. I had a management slash economics background, and then I decided to switch into data, and that's how I became a data scientist. Cloud is an essential part of my work and of my community life. I'm AWS community builder, and I like to help other people to know about tech, about cloud, about data, especially women, because women often struggle to, leave their bubble, leave their area, and go out and explore something new. But in any case, I am here to help and address questions, concerns, doubts that anyone can have before going into a new career, new area.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So, Daria, I am going to go to you with that question. Yes, you still have the floor. So, Daria, this is 2026, and if you were starting your career again, what would you do differently if this was your first year?
Okay, that is a great question because it may seem that AI and all of this, like fast changing field, evolved completely, but I think the core remains the same. If I were to start from scratch, I would rather focus on networking, more on networking, connecting with new people, understanding the different kind of experience people may have in different companies or industries. And I would ask a lot of questions. I mean, when I started, I kind of feel shy to ask many questions, especially questions why, because you cannot Google why such decisions are being made. On a project, on this, let's say, technology stack, on some solutions that have human reasoning behind them. And also, I would focus more on the hands-on stuff. So I think when I was just starting, I made a mistake because I tried to mostly learn, like follow the courses, but I didn't emphasize too much on hands-on practice. So if I were starting from scratch this year, I would rather go like 50-50. So I learn a Python paradigm, for example, this week, and I will go and apply it on a program, on a simple application, just to make the things stick together.
Okay,
What about
thank
you guys?
Okay, thank you. Yes, Chris. Yes, can you tell us if you were to start all over in 2026, what would you do differently?
If I was going to start all over again in tech from zero in 2026, the thing that I would so the problem that people are finding nowadays is that there's just way too much. Like there's too much information out there, and everybody is saying this is the new thing. This is the new silver bullet that's going to fix all the things. Um, you have to be very focused and pick something. You have to, whether it's networking or cybersecurity or development or web dev, pick one thing and stay focused on that, understanding that you're going to have to pick up the things around it too. If you want to get into DevOps, you have to get into either development or infrastructure. Don't pick both at the same time. Knowing that you are then going to have to like expand your sphere of knowledge outward into like version control, understanding how GitHub works and things like that, but sticking with your principal thing. So like we'll just take networking on one side and development on the other side. Stick with it, learn IP addresses and all of the things over there, but then also learn how to do infrastructure as code, like with Terraform or whatever. If you go on the development side, pick Python, stick with one language. Don't try to learn 17 different languages, because that's where everybody gets like spun up and disheartened, because everybody out there on social media is saying, this is the next big thing. Jump on the stuff. Focus and be confident in the thing you pick. Don't second guess yourself, and then stick with it. That's my best advice right now.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, starting all over in 2026, what would you do differently?
Yeah, I would say I would not change, I don't think, how I started my journey for everything, because I started when cloud was in its infancy and now considered very, very mature. And so if I were to start now, like Chris said, there's just so many different competencies that you have to pick up, and you're trying to figure out where to start. And so similar, pick one that fits your passion. If that's like data, like, Daria and I are both in data, so go with that. That's kind of what I think about, and that create the foundation for that, the fundamentals, whether that's SQL, Python, and then you've got the foundation. And then if you're on a local desktop or if you're in the cloud, you can do it. There's nothing that's magic. There's out there. And so I think having that foundation is critical. And I started as a software engineer. I moved to data, then I moved to DevOps and Kubernetes and all of that. And now I'm back in data. And so I don't think there is a perfect path. So realizing that as well.
Okay, thanks. Brian, So there are so many parts now. AI, data, DevOps, so many different, specialties. How should beginners choose direction to take without overthinking?
Well, that's a good question. And I will say back to the one thing I might do differently is be careful about when you raise your hand. I was a Scala developer at a company, and one fine day, the entire DevOps team quit. And they had a company meeting. They said, "Does anybody know how any of this stuff works?" And I raised my hand and I said, "Yay, you're DevOps." And it's like, okay, excellent, excellent. Uh, my background's a little different in that my undergraduate was linguistic philosophy and my graduate was cognitive psychology. And I run Haylent has an employee resource group for neurodivergence, and I co-run that. And I'm sort of going to ignore your question because that just, that's what we do. In that I think we're going through a very interesting time with AI in that for the longest time, we used compilers and interpreters. And if we wrote code, that's what the code did. And if you got the wrong answer, x equals y plus 1. X is going to equal y plus 1. But because our computer languages were very deterministic. Now that we're prompting, primarily in English, although other languages, but I'm just going to say English, we have all the ambiguity of English. And so we're in a non-deterministic world. And so, I'll just give a story. I'm also a pilot, and there's a story where a pilot they needed to do a go-around, and he told the pilot, takeoff power, which means give me full power for takeoff. And the non-primary English-speaking co-pilot said, oh, okay, I'll take off the power. And everyone died. So English is important, psychology is important. Recognizing that in the general population, about 30% of the world is neurodivergent, and in our field, probably 80% of the field is neurodivergent. So I've completely blown past your question and say, pay attention to people. If you feel that you don't fit in or that it's too loud and stuff, reach out to people who are doing neurodivergent work and we'll help you out. And I don't even remember what the actual question is, but hey, us heroes don't tend to follow the rules. So there you go.
That's fine. That's fine. And that's why we are here to learn, right? So Andrew, I'll take the question to you. I know there are so many parts today.
Sure.
So how would a beginner, choose without overthinking? Yeah.
I think passion and interest is useful to help drive a selection. I think Rob was saying earlier that, you got to learn a lot anyway at some points. You're going to be touching a lot of stuff. And then we had Chris saying, choose one thing and, make a choice and that'll make your path a lot easier. And so we're hearing, really solid advice there. I want to attach to that and just say, like, look, there's a lot that you have to learn, and you should give yourself the runway to do it. And so I think that if you're breaking from tech from ground zero, you should account for 3 years to get into it. So give yourself a lot of way to make your way in there. And it is a very steep cliff, and you need to learn a lot, especially in cloud, to break into it. There is a pretty well-defined path in terms of what a lot of people like to do to get into cloud, which is take your fundamental certification and then take a associate certification and then make a project and then build up your network and go to stuff. And that is a very well-traveled path. And so if you decide to go down that path and you don't have any other options, that's a good one because a lot of people will be able to help you along the way with that path. There's obviously other paths that you can take. The one that I always suggest is to build something that is useful for you. So I'll give you an example of how I could turn my interest and passion into an opportunity. So I have young kids. I want to teach them tech. And I know what motivates my kids is by giving them, stuff. Like if you work on this little tech thing, I will give you tech points and you can trade that in for something. And I realized, well, I don't want to manage a bunch of money. And so maybe I can make some kind of little rewards card. And so I'm thinking, okay, let's 3D print a rewards card, and can we put an RFC chip into it? And how can I make something that tracks that rewards information so they can exchange it? And then I was at the gas station in town, right? And I noticed that every time that somebody buys gas, they write down their name and whatever to put them in a draw so that they can, um, win something. But the reason they're doing that is they're trying to track their clientele. And so I'm saying, why are you doing this when you can, you know, have your own rewards program? And by the way, here's a prototype I made for my kids that's unrelated, like similar to what you want and whatever, whatever. And they go, oh, how can I have that? And I said, well, I'm really busy. I don't really have time for this. But they say, well, I'll pay you for it. And I'm like, oh, I have a paid job now. And this has occurred to me my entire life because I'm really interested in tech and solving stuff. So there's the traditional path, but there's also just having fun and trying to solve problems. And then those problems become other people's problems that they want to pay you for. Sorry.
Okay, sounds good. So just yeah, stay on. Now we are talking about like skills that could wait and ones that kind of like immediate. So can you tell us like the fundamental skills that matter most early on and like what can safely wait?
Um, yeah, what skills matter early on? I mean, doing our boot camps and grading a lot. I think the thing that people have a really hard time developing early is technical documentation. And so I know there's programming and all these other more interesting things, but I think being able to clearly communicate and pass on the knowledge to the next person is extremely valuable. And I feel like that will shortcut your way, to being someone that is worth hiring, because at the end of the day, it's like no matter how good your work is, it has to be adopted by a team or business and trusted. And to me, technical documentation is the number one skill I would like pound into people as the initial thing. But yes, pick up a programming language, whatever you want, Python. Pick up some basic networking skills. Spin up your own Linux. Learn some basic Linux. Get the Linux handbook for anything like FreeBSD. I don't care what it is. They're all kind of the same, and learn some skills there and jump into cloud and have a bill that's too much and then freak out, and get your feet wet. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Daria, so what skills do you think are the fundamentals most early on and what can safely wait?
Yeah, in my opinion, Andrew said it perfectly well. One thing I want to add is that if you want, for example, to learn cloud, you need to learn the essence or the basics of cloud. I think we can refer to the cloud practitioner certification just to understand how the whole system works, based on what pillars, based on what principles, what is like identity and access management, right? But then going back to what we already discussed, when you have your focus, as Chris said, but when you have your pillar you want to explore, then focus on this specific thing. And of course, we all want to be like a T-shape developers, T-shape data scientists, but first build this thing, and then you can build this one. Yeah, so focus on the essence. If you're a DevOps engineer, focus on your DevOps stuff. If you're a data scientist, focus on data. Yeah, and then the rest you will touch it in any way. Life will guide you through different areas. This is for sure.
Okay, yes, Chris. So what skills do you think can wait and what do we need like fundamentals right now?
What skills can wait? So late career skills are big picture architectural type things. So as everybody's here has said, okay, so as an early career person, I have to think way far back. Your fundamentals are the most important things. Writing skills, yes. The foundational aspects of how things are wired together. So you've got RAM, disk, CPU, and networking. Knowing how all of that interrelates. The things that you can push off are um, uh, I'm gonna say big picture thinking, because you're concentrating on how to get good at something. So if somebody comes at you with like giant architectural diagrams and asks you about systems thinking stuff and things that are how a lot of different things are wired together, that's something you can push off. That's something that you can wait until after you've understood how things work fundamentally.
Okay, Rob, what do you think can wait, and what do you think we need like right now, early on?
Yeah, I would, it's ironic coming from a deaf person, but I would say the top skill we need is communication in the cloud, communication in writing, communication in interacting with the management team or your teammates. How others document things is just critically important in this to be able to write good documentation. And outside of tech, there's a lot of soft skills that you can bring into the picture. And I'm sure, yeah, most of you, like the certification, that's easy. Sometimes you might have to take a test a couple times to pass it, but that's just part of the process. We need to educate ourselves and really assimilate the information, because you're not going to understand the concept the first time you jump into it. You're going to have to just take the time to get used to the terminology that's being thrown around, used to all of the things that are going on. And then eventually it'll sink in and you become much more into it, and you're just kind of you're a force in the cloud at that point.
Can I jump in on this because because I am going to.
Yes, sure.
There's some job management stuff that I think people need to learn about. Find out, and salary is something we're not supposed to talk about. But I will say that I was a consultant for a long time, and I sort of adhered to the unwritten rule that you don't check salaries. And then I was at a gig where there were a bunch of us consultants, and I was getting underpaid significantly from the other consultants. I talked to my agency and they said, okay, we'll raise your rate $20 an hour without even blinking. So they had been pillaging me because I didn't ask. So ask. At least in a lot of places in the United States, you are allowed to ask about salaries and stuff. The other thing I'll say is, if you're new and you're looking at a job listing and it says the things that are required, that's almost always nonsense. There are so many stories of companies saying we need 5 years of this exposure with this technology when the technology has only existed for 2 years. So don't pay attention to that. And I will say that I'm going to make this broad generalization. My experience is that the female members of our field often self-select themselves out and say, and don't apply for a thing because we've pushed women down, patriarchy, blah, blah, stipulate all that. Don't fall for that bullshit. Apply. If the company says no, that's fine, but don't you say no to yourself beforehand.
Okay, thanks. I think, yeah, that's lots of rich advice for those who want to apply. And what we are saying is we get the skills. I know Andrew mentioned that we get the skills and then certification and networking. So let's talk about projects. I know there's this talk about projects, what have you built? So I'm going to go back to you, Brian. What is the like smallest meaningful project that you think someone could build and add, showcase in the CV, and maybe go for an interview with confidence, that I'm
okay. Well, one thing that I think is just really underused as an experience builder is doing pull requests for open source projects. Find an open source project that has, so I mean, most of them will say, hey, we could do this and we could use this. You can download it. So you learn about the download. learn how to build it. So you're learning how to build it, make a change, make it good enough, and get it accepted. If you get a pull request in some open source project approved, you stand out from like 98% of all of the people. And it can be a small thing. It can be a bug fix, and then do it some more. And then you become, seen as one of the cool kids for that project. So little tiny projects like that. And I think it was Andrew who said also, do something that works for you. And he talked about gamification. I used to have an Alexa skill where if my kid did chores, they could earn extra screen time. And because that's the most important currency for them. And I remember my kid saying, wait a minute, are you telling me that Alexa can talk to the Xbox? And I, being a good parent, was totally willing to lie and say, yes, Alexa controls the Xbox. So do little projects, do open source, and do things that matter to you, because probably it matters to someone else as well.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Chris. So, question on project still. What is the smallest meaningful project that someone could build to show their cloud competency? Put it in the CV and start going for interviews, maybe.
I like to encourage kids to create something that is meaningful to them. If you create a project that's based off of like a Udemy course or something, that's cool to get your feet started. That's great to get going in there. When you create something, and Andrew is amazing at this. He created the generative AI cloud bootcamp, and during it, he created a app to help him learn Japanese because he was in the process of learning Japanese. Find something that you are passionate about. If you collect comic books, create a comic book sorting program that you can take a screenshot and use generative AI to loop back into the things, and then use like give your idea to Claude, and then have it say, assume the role of a tutor and assume that I know nothing and help me to learn all of these different things and leverage the new things that are coming out with generative AI to not spoon feed you a how to create the app, but how to learn how to make your own app. But find something that you're passionate about so that you stick with it, because if it's cool, you're going to keep your hand in.
Yeah, okay, thanks. That's interesting. So I know we've talked about projects. There's this discussion. There's always discussion of certifications, or when they are, how important are certifications or not. So Daria, what do you think? I mean, like at what point do certifications actually help, and when do they not help?
I think that the first foundational level certification as cloud practitioner, for example, we have cloud practitioner and we have, for example, AI practitioner. They are good in terms that they help people to get their foot into the field and understand the basics. But then I would say just pick your area related certification and don't try to chase every possible certification, because at some point you will be optimizing just for taking an exam and having this badge. So yeah, and maybe it is like a filter that would maybe help you to get an interview, but during the interview you will be talking, not your certification badge will be talking to the people. And also, if I may want to add to the previous sentence of Chris about the project, I think that picking up, and Andrew said this, picking up the project that really attracts you and you have a great passion for it makes you a product-minded engineer. So you're not just a technical person, but you have this product ownership. I think this is essential for nowadays, because everyone can make a code. Like many people already can make a code, can write something, write a program, but having this like product understanding in mind, you you you're kind of starting your own company with this project, right? And this skill will be transferable if you're going to be hired by a big company corporation or like a startup, or if you're going to start your own thing. Yeah, this is just not just the like 1+1 running Hello World program in any programming language, but this is entire new level.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I know, Andrew Brown, you talked about the certifications thing and also the path, but I would like us to really double down on that. So,
Oh,
do you
sure.
think certifications are like actually helpful, and when are they not helpful?
Oh yeah, we'll discuss this, but I just wanted to double back here what Daria said about taking an idea and treating it like a actual company or startup, because that literally everything I do, I
Sure.
go, what if this is like $1 million idea? And the great thing about that is that when you have even if you're not really going to do in the end, by having that mentality, you're able to really take a project and help contextualize it for another company that might want to adopt it. And so, I think it's fun to go, like, people just want to make calculators online and put them in their thing, but I like the idea of, like, what if I could make my entire rewards empire, startup. But you just have to understand not everything's going to work and you're delusional, but I think it's good. In terms of certifications, like, my belief is that certifications are a goalpost. They help keep you motivated. They give you structure. But at the end of the day, they're probably not going to equate to translating to jobs. There are obviously exceptions with certain certifications because some are specifically required. If you want to go fix computers, I know that the computer store in the town over, they want you to have your A+ certification, right? That's their bare minimum requirement. But in many cases, it's more about your network. It's more about your technical skills, showing off your projects. So, just don't go too crazy with certifications. But if you do, go to exampro.co and
Sure,
buy the
sure,
digital
yeah.
study materials if that's what you want to do, right? Like, I sit certs
Nice
all
plug.
day. Yeah, all day, every day. And I'm going to tell you, like, I'm refreshing my Terraform certs, and I don't even remember Terraform. And it's crazy because we did a Terraform boot camp and whatever, whatever. And if you're not using it, you're losing it.
Yep.
So, there's, at some point you get burnt out, right? And you realize you're not really making meaningful progress for what you're doing. But yeah, if you're going to do certs, take a fundamental, then associate, and if you want to do pro, do a pro, but usually follow that after with a project. Hmm.
Yeah, and I sure love your certifications tutorials. Brian, what do you think about this certification, topic of at what point do certifications actually help and when they do not help?
Right, right. Well, I ran into a person at a conference 10 years ago, and this person was 6 months out of college and had all six, because that's all there were back then, six certifications, and had never put anything into production. And it's like, okay, I'm sorry, you're useless. You have all the certs there are, but that's pointless. Um, uh, one of the quite a lot of the certifications are learning how to take tests. So I've got both of the pro certs, which are quite hard, but also just endurance tests. But you get a question where it says, "What should you do? Write a thing yourself. Use a third-party service. Give up. Use an Amazon service." Well, that's easy. The answer is going to be number four. I don't even need to know any of the rest of it. So there's you can get 20% of the questions just by that. There have been a few certifications where I've actually learned stuff. And I will say, just as a test, as a learning technique, I take before I even study a thing, I'll take the practice exam in review mode, and I'll just try it. And every question I get wrong, I write down what I got wrong, and I make a link of the reading materials, and then I go back through it. And it's but I don't write down the ones where it was trick questions, and so much of it is just close reading, and fine. Um, the and there are also ones that, like, I just won't even touch, like the advanced networking specialty. I'm never going to take that because I'm sorry, it just doesn't work with my brain. So, I mean, they do help, but again, don't go crazy. Those of us who are in the partner organizations, we're required to have certain certifications for our partner status, and so yeah, you do them. But and I'll just, because I haven't yet, do a shout out for this, all the stuff that Andrew is doing, and Chris helped Andrew with stuff. So shout outs to both of you for all that work.
Oh yeah, thanks so much. Yeah. Andrew has, I think, a boot camp coming up. Maybe we'll talk about that towards the end as well, but that's fine. Okay, so Rob, what do you have to say about this certification? You know, at what point do certifications actually help and when they do not help?
Certifications help in terms of imposter syndrome. That's at least for me. They give me the confidence to pass the interview so that I know, okay, I know this stuff. I can go into an interview and I can converse with anybody about these different topics or these different tech experts. So it's more for me, it gives me the foundation and it gives me the conversation starting points to know what the experts are talking about and to make the connections. So I think the certifications help with that. And like Brian said, with partnerships, I work with a consulting firm, and so there are a certain number of people that we have to maintain the certifications for those partnerships. So that's strongly encouraged. And we have initiatives at my firm relating to that. And then it gives me the skills, I might not be familiar with that area, but the certification helps me to have some of the context and some of the ability to showcase that I know that stuff. I can talk about the stuff. And so that's where I find certifications to be helpful. And then, of course, with different certifications, you can, maybe you have an interest in one role for your company. And so you take the certification to show people, look, I can learn things. I'm interested in this. I want to switch over to that department. And so it's a way to kind of show that you have the initiative and of wanting to learn something new. And so those are the spaces where I really use it to show that I have the ability to learn something like that. And I will say many employees require a college degree, I suppose, because it's like, it shows off their ability to learn and, get the grades or whatever that means. And so I feel like certification is kind of viewed the same way. It's one way that employers look and see, okay, you can work towards something and achieve it. Maybe, you can have all these certifications and only one applies to what you're doing. But if you're able to pass, then I think that means that you are, at least bringing something to the table with your employer.
Okay, that's good. Thanks. We have a question about certifications from Larry Dian in the channel. Is it better to take certification or take a certificate course from a university? So anyone could just quickly jump on this and give a response to Larry Dian.
That's a great question. Man, I don't know. I mean, I will say that the courses from the universities or from deep learning were quite good. I mean, a year or so, or maybe 2 years ago, when all these LLMs were just hitting us over the head, there was courses on from deeplearning.ai. And those were wonderful. Those, and I still recommend those to people because they're all about teaching you stuff as opposed to proving that you already know the stuff.
Okay. Anyone else maybe want to jump on that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in terms of university, like here in Canada, we have like the University of Waterloo for your computer science degree, and a bunch of other ones. and they don't go after certifications whatsoever. In fact, I find a lot of students after they're graduating, they're asking about cloud certifications. So, I'm very skeptical that a university, if it was just driven around certifications, it would produce a good result. If it was part of a goalpost inside of a larger curriculum, I think that would be fine. So I made the analogy here to Japanese because I've actually seen this model where the Japanese proficiency exam has N5, N4, N3, N2, N1, N2 being the second hardest one. And so when you go through schooling in university, they're expected to pass the N2, which is a very high level certification and required for you to work. If you want to work as a tech person in Japan, you need your N2 at the very least. But the point is that they can easily pass it through that curriculum. It's not like everything's engineered around it. So if a university was offering a certification course, I'd be very wary. And I just feel that certification courses aren't like serving of the entire semester or the stuff that you have to do, right? But again, that's not to say that it's not possible, but I've yet to see it. So I would not align people to universities with certifications.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to Chris. So Chris, what skills do you think will still matter 5 years from now, regardless of tools?
Insatiable curiosity. That's about it. Everything else is going to change. Everything else is in the process of changing. Layers of abstraction are being added and removed at lightning speed. But the skill, I guess it's a skill, the ability to ask really good questions and dig deep into something and still be curious about however this all lands is going to be the most important thing. I mean, Andrew spoke about writing skills, super important. Rob Sock talked about communication skills, super important. All of those all fall under the umbrella of also being really curious about the things. So, yeah, I guess that's the one skill. I mean, because everything's changing so fast, it's really hard to just pick a skill. So, yeah, curious. Let's do
Yeah,
that.
Rob. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Rob. So tech is changing so fast. What skill do you think would be most important 5 years, would still matter 5 years from now?
Yeah, I think the ability to just do it, experiment, try different things, try new things, experiment. Who knows what 5 years, who knew 5 years ago that today we would have what we have? We have AI in the space that we have it. I think we're all learning as we go, and we are not by far experts. No one is yet. And so I think try, trial things, do it. That's my thought. Yeah, you've got to be willing to just keep going.
Okay, Daria, skills that you think will matter 5 years from now?
I think people skills, because we work with people in teams and different, let's say, companies, but we still face this communication, the ability to explain something, the ability to understand someone, the ability to split up the work, not to interfere to each other. So I think, yeah, people skill will matter, and I think it's kind of bad because I saw many people asking about advice how to start their career, and they are trying to learn one more technical thing, one more Docker, one more Python, and they completely miss the point of having this like people relationship in mind, like business communication, understand the basics of the workflow. So they think that what is lacking is just one more technology piece, but in reality, this is like a completely different area, completely different paradigm to focus on.
Yeah, Brian, what do you think will matter 5 years from now?
Well, my unofficial, non-corporate, unfiltered answer as an American living in these crazy ass times, I think 5 years from now, the most important skill will be how to make a fire. But assuming that we don't succumb to all of those things, and that machines aren't running everything. I agree with what the other folks have said. It's communication skills. It's interpersonal writing and listening. I had a friend who once said, listening is different from waiting for your turn to talk. So you gain a lot of credibility by listening and pausing. And it's funny. I mean, everything seems to come around. I mean, functional languages were really hot a few years ago. They were also really hot 30 years ago. They'll probably be really hot again in 10 years again. So everything comes and goes, but you're still dealing with people. But I'd also say please and thank you to the AIs whenever you interact with them. That would be my advice.
Okay, that's good. Thanks. So before we go to like advice, what take-home advice, and Brown, I just want to give you a few moments to tell us about the upcoming bootcamp
Oh, sure.
planning.
Yeah.
Yes.
So folks that don't know, I run paid and free boot camps. We have a very large free boot camp coming up on May 3rd, which is our Gen AI Bootcamp 2026, which is focused around agent ops. So it's about taking a agentic workload and putting up all the developer operations around it to bring it into production. The interesting thing about my boot camps is that we might have, 10,000 or more people joining the boot camp and participating along, which makes it really good for um, uh, solving any little problem along the way. So if you've never built a large project before, this is your best opportunity to do so. There was a question, and I'm sure we can expand on it a bit more, but like, if you're a woman in tech, we actually run She Clouds within the group so that you can network with other women and to start building your network, and which is really, really important. The other thing in my boot camps is that it's not just me. I bring in many guest instructors, so we have many different perspectives. In fact, almost everybody here has been a guest instructor in one of my boot camps, and they're bringing their technical knowledge from their different perspective. And we don't need to agree. We just need to show that there's more than one way to do it, so that you become very well rounded. And again, this one will be free. So all you have to do is make sure you pay attention to when the registration opens, and we'll have a really fun time. Oh, and we have badges. And so if you feel very motivated, you can try to get the top level badge. Sorry.
Okay, thanks so much, Andrew. And I am looking forward to those boot camps. They are usually very rich. So we have a question from Kana. Kana says, I'm 35. I want to get into cloud jobs. So I'm studying SAA. My question to you is it worth the time given my age and the AI era we live in? So anyone can take that.
I'm going to jump in again. Sorry, just because it says that they're a network engineer in Japan. And so when I was over there, I'm just really surprised that they're rapidly adopting AI right now, both cloud and AI. And so I think there's great opportunity where you live to jump into agentic workflows or AI and figure out how that tool will work for your market. And I don't think the age matters. Like, if you already have a technical background, it says you're a network engineer, I think you can translate those skills over. As you can see, some folks are older than other ones, and maybe they can speak to the longevity of the career and learning.
Yeah, so networking skills specifically translate really well into cloud. I mean, just because if you, the translation from wiring together physical routers to wiring together routes within a VPC is very, very seamless. Like once you've learned what the words are inside of the cloud, you just immediately get it, and you can start creating all the exact same things that you were creating before then. That is the, and this is exactly how it happened to me. That then is a natural segue into learning how to do it via infrastructure as code, blowing out those exact same networks using either CloudFormation or Terraform or what have you to and then that then dovetails into GitHub and version control and actually getting good at those things too. So that was exactly what my natural progression was. So I highly encourage him to do exactly that.
Right. And I'll say white hair here, you know, there is ageism, but not as much as you might think. So don't let age worry you. The other thing I'll say is that anytime I hear networking, I immediately think security, and because if you can't get in, you can't bust it, and especially in this age of multi-agent orchestration with incredibly diverse attack surfaces, networking as your protector of security is absolutely vital. So I would encourage you to take that bent and say, because you could probably say, yo, I can protect your system.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to take one more question. Larry Jan says, finance background and took information management and cybersecurity program at university. Do I stand a chance with other experienced candidates and those with certifications? Anyone?
So if he's saying experienced candidates, then no. I mean, if you're looking at somebody that has, a couple of classes and is looking to get into it, and if he's but the main thing is, don't compare yourself to those people. Don't compare yourself to experienced candidates in the thing that you want to get into. If you're getting into it, then you need to get in at the ground level and then expand your skills from there. Don't you were talking about imposter syndrome at the beginning of this. So don't compare yourself to other people. You have your own individual path, and don't worry about it. Just apply, see what happens.
Okay,
Yep.
so
And I
yes,
also
Daria, yeah.
wanted to add that don't ask, is it possible? Is it possible at 35? Is it possible given that I took such courses or not? Ask yourself, do I want it? Do I want to do it? And just seek the answer inside you, not outside you, because it depends like mostly on you, not on your age, your background, on other circumstances. It's just the way if you are going to do this or not. This is my take.
Okay, thanks so much.
Rob had
Yeah.
something I just wanted
Yeah,
to
Rob.
add. There's so
Yeah.
many different ways to learn something, to learn new things. And so we all have a different approach. Some prefer, drag out courses. Some prefer a cram. They want to do a cram and they just want to do it in one quick weekend. And so I there's many different ways to go about it, but in terms of agentic and where you are in your career, I would say the experience you gain and you have gained throughout your life and just what you've done interacting with people and in the business worlds that you've been in and what you've learned so far, can those translate and can those skills be transferred to the new skills that you're trying to learn or that you're trying to apply? And so bring what you have and what you've learned through the years, and is it a good badge? Is it a bad badge? Whatever it might be, but that experience, bring it with you and use that as you try to pursue the next role, because I'm sure there's a lot of value to what you already have, and there's probably a lot of value that you could bring to the ecosystem that you're trying to get into. And so I would go in with that confidence.
Okay, sounds good. And Rob, we does the last take home before we go. So what is one piece of advice, one piece of advice you give to someone starting their cloud journey today?
If you really, really want my advice, break product. That's my advice, because that's something that you're going to learn from. That's something that you're going to be able to, that experience is going to stick with you. It's going to be with you forever. And so it's a bit sarcastic, but I have broken things a few times, and yeah, break in production and then see, you definitely learn from those experiences. And but more than anything, I would say don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try different things. Some, sometimes you just got to rip the band-aid off and, dive deep into dive in deep with whatever your passion is. So that's my takeaway for anybody listening.
Okay, thanks, Daria. Your takeaway piece, advice?
I would say that just not to repeat everything that we already said, I think that this path may take a little bit longer than you may expect. Then try to treat it as a marathon, not a sprint, and just be kind to yourself. Because if you expect from yourself to give result in, let's say, 3 months, you will be too, I think, brutal for yourself. Just be a little bit kinder.
Okay. And Brian, one
Yeah,
piece of advice, take home? Yeah.
I want to tag on what Rob said. Maybe don't break in production, because you may learn lessons you don't want to learn. But what I would suggest is there are all kinds of tutorials that give you like all the code, and you go through the tutorial and you write all the code and you get it working. Great. You think you've learned something. Okay. Now, if you really want to learn something, go back and start commenting out random lines in the code and see what happens, because that will give you experience in looking at logs, in debugging, and seeing, well, what did this line actually do? Did this line actually do anything? What happens if I don't set this or that? That's how you get deeper. You're not just reading a cookbook. So I would say break things in the tutorials, not in production, please. Although anybody here who hasn't broken production is lying.
Yeah,
Yep.
sure. Everybody has had a
There,
100%.
yes.
Okay, so now Chris, over to you. One piece
Uh,
of advice. Yeah.
One piece of takeaway advice. Given that we are January 31st, 2026, do not set your sights on working for a FANG or a large CSP, or don't let that be your holy grail. Work for a find a small company. Work for a boutique software company or a networking IS or something like that that has the ability to maintain employment for a longer period of time than just a couple of years. There's been a ton of layoffs recently. To not talk about that would be a disservice to the folks that are actually trying to think about getting into tech right now. Try to avoid the places where there's high churn. Don't listen to the best places to work podcasts, because those are all bought and paid for by the large CSPs. Look for red flags when you're doing your interviewing process. If somebody says, "Oh, we're like a big family here," that's also a horrible thing. Uh, yeah, just ask a lot of questions. This goes back to being curious, be inquisitive, ask a lot of questions, and don't let people treat you like shit.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And to that note, before we get to Andrew Brown for the last piece of advice, does anyone have anything to comment on, like what is going on in terms of tech churn and the advice on how to not be afraid of the tech churn? Maybe, yeah, before we go to your advice, Andrew. Yeah.
I will say, to tag on what Chris said, because I really appreciate that, Chris. At Amazon, we've lost a lot of really good friends um, recently. Over your career, you will lose jobs. You will have interviews where you don't get hired. You will have companies that fold out from under you. That's just part of the gig. And if you can't do that, that's just that is what happens. And our heart goes out to our dear friends at Amazon for the difficulties of this week.
Okay. That yeah. So can we all like send a heart reaction to them? And before Andrew Brown, you go with your final talk. Maybe a heart to all our friends. Okay. Okay. So Andrew Brown, can you give us the final advice?
Sure. Yeah. If no one will hire you in tech, hire yourself. And what I mean is create yourself into your own entrepreneur. And you're saying, well, where do I find those opportunities? Well, there's lots of networks. If you are a woman and you are trying to build your woman network, what you can do is join Pero.ca. That's what my mom did in the 90s. It started in Canada. It's now across Canada. Now it's all around the world. So this is an organization that has hundreds, if not more, women-owned businesses. And you can join it and say, hey, I got tech skills, and they will connect you with small businesses with women, and it'll create lots of opportunities for you. Or, you can join your chamber of commerce and try to and say, hey, I'm starting a small business in generic tech, and then try to figure out what businesses need. That's another direct opportunity. Or just go volunteer and help your community. So, for instance, I've started a initiative where I'm just providing free tech training for seniors, and so I go to their houses and I help make the big icons on their things so that they can do their online banking or whatever. And I don't want money, but they say I have to give you money. How are you going to survive, right? And so you can start that way and build your network that way. And maybe what you really want to do is build the next Facebook or whatever, but you got to start somewhere, and you got to make money. And tech is tech, and I think you can enjoy stuff there. So again, don't wait for someone else to hire you. Hire yourself. Okay.
Okay, thanks so much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the advice. It's really rich. I think this will be helpful going forward to 2026, and hope to meet early again this year. Thanks so much. Thanks. Thanks.
And Cyril, thank you for organizing this.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
bud.
Okay. Cheers.